Well, hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. July sure has been a month. We were coming off of Pride Month, hopped straight into World Watercolor Month, and the Summer Creative Retreat is just around the corner. Real quick, if you don't know about the Summer Creative Retreat, it is a free event put on by the Pigeon Letters. This year there are over 60 instructors running workshops over 6 days. I am running my session on Friday, August 4th at 4 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time if you'd like to join us. It is a new lesson on using paint colors to determine the values in a value study rather than water control, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. There's an optional all-access pass for the otherwise free event that includes digital resources from each of the instructors, and my contribution is a brand new mini ebook that accompanies this lesson. Check out the link in the description below this video so that they know that I sent you. So the plan was to finally get to a new color spotlight video, but we are going to have to wait just a smidge longer as researching it sapped away all of my spoons. Instead, I hope you will enjoy this Schmincke super granulating swatch with me. 2 years ago, I made a video on making a Schmincke granulating watercolor palette where I showed off some of these colors. Today we're going to take a look at the full dot card from Schmincke featuring 8 of the 10 current collections. We will be looking at the Volcano, Galaxy, Deep Sea, Shire, Desert, Tundra, Glacier, and Forest collections. The 2 that are currently out but not included on this dot card at the time of this recording are Haze and Urban. In my last video, you might recall me mentioning that some of these colors look gorgeous, but they are actually really difficult to paint with in practice if you use more than one layer of paint. Not all, but some of them. Please keep in mind that this video contains swatching and my initial thoughts for the colors that I haven't seen yet, but it is not a full review for the colors that I haven't used regularly. If you would like more information about them, I'd highly recommend checking out Alice Lim's channel, which is a plethora of information regarding this line. If you would like high-resolution scans of this finished swatch sheet with the pigment information, check out my Patreon for the companion post. Now on to the swatching. First up is the Volcano collection. I have seen in other reviews that this collection can be difficult to re-wet, so I put water on each dot before swatching. PY159 is a relatively uncommon pigment in watercolors, also known as zirconium yellow. Schmincke's Volcano yellow is a soft, granulating lemon yellow. It is sought after as one of the few granulating yellows available in watercolors. I generally don't expect a lightly valued granulating color to re-wet easily in the first place, such as cobalt violet and Mayan yellows, but this wasn't overly difficult to re-wet compared to the expectations I already had for it. Next is Volcano Orange, made from the previous PY159 and PR108, which we will see next in this swatch card. Granulating oranges are also hard to come by, and this one is really lovely. It has a low tinting strength and takes a bit of coaxing to re-wet, but I can see it being a really unique and useful palette choice. Here is PR108 Volcano Red. This is a mid to warm cadmium. Yes, kitten, hello. We're recording right now. Can I finish? This is a mid to warm cadmium red that heavily granulates. I am starting to sound like a broken record, but again, it is difficult to find light, fast, granulating reds. If you're in the market for one, this might be a color to check out. Honey, I can't play with you right now. We're doing the work. The next color is Volcano Violet, made from PV62 and PR108. From my understanding, Cobalt Violet Hue PV62 is unique to Schmincke in watercolors, and we'll see it pop up a couple of times within this entire series. Paired with the granulating red pigment, it deepens and warms the overall hue of this color. Volcano Brown really surprised me. From other swatches that I've seen, I wasn't like chomping at the bit to try this one, but the swatch is really lovely in person. It is made from PR108 and PBK11, two highly granulating colors, It might be a little bit hard to work with in practice, but I don't know. I would love to give it a go. Overall, this is a really fun set of warm, light-fast, granulating colors, which definitely fills a niche in watercolors overall. All of them take a bit of effort to re-wet, and I wouldn't consider any of them creamy. If I were to recommend two of them though, I would go with the yellow and red, which would also allow you to mix the orange. Moving on to the Galaxy collection, first up is Galaxy Pink. This is a color that I have worked with before outside of the swatch page. It is made with manganese violet and mahogany brown, and this color is truly lovely. I love mahogany brown, so it's already starting off on the right foot. However, if you already have a violet iron oxide or caput mortem and potter's pink on your palette, then it might be a little bit redundant, which is the case for me. It is one that I would like to use more often, but unless it's the option on my palette in this color range, I would often gravitate towards those single pigment colors instead. Galaxy Violet is made from potter's pink and ultramarine blue. It is a cool violet with brownish pink granulation. It is a bit hard to re-wet, so I'd recommend letting it sit with some water on it first. A color that is not hard to re-wet is Galaxy Blue, made from cobalt turquoise and ultramarine blue. It is a vibrant, granulating sky blue that is not dissimilar to a light cobalt blue or a darker cerulean. Galaxy Brown is another color that is just stunning. Made from PBR6, Mars Brown, and PV62, it's another color that can be redundant if you already have similar browns on your palette, but it is totally swoon-worthy. It re-wets easily and granulates similarly to browns that I often see in handmade watercolor lines. Finally, we have Galaxy Black, made from Mars Black and ultramarine blue. It is a two-toned, granulating black color, but I don't think you need to spend the higher price tag for a granulating black on your palette. I personally would just prefer a Payne's Gray or even just a Mars Black on its own. Overall, the Galaxy collection is very pretty, but they are colors that are easily replaceable within my own palettes and collection. If you do want to try out a couple, I would recommend the Galaxy Pink and Brown. Next are the Deep Sea colors, starting with Deep Sea Violet. This is a blue-gray made from ultramarine and mahogany brown. It heavily granulates, but I don't feel like it's anything that you need to write home about. Deep Sea Indigo is made from that PV62 again, paired with Viridian, which is PG18. If you paint a lot of watery, oceany things, it might be really helpful, but for most people, I would probably pass on this one. There are two colors in this collection that piqued my curiosity, starting with Deep Sea Blue. Now, honestly, this isn't that much different from a warm cerulean blue, but something about it makes me want to try it out. It is made from three pigments, PG50, PV16, and PB29. The depth and opacity make me just, I just want to give it a try. Deep Sea Green is one that originally caught my eye, and I couldn't resist picking up a tube of it a while back. However, it is very simply made of ultramarine and Viridian and is easily mixable on your own palette. Again, I feel like it could be really helpful if you paint a lot of underwater things, but otherwise, you can probably just mix one of your own blues and greens together and get something similar. Last in this set is Deep Sea Black, and this one flat out disappointed me. It is made with PB74, which is cobalt blue deep, and it also adds PBK11 and PB35. In theory, that sounds like a really pretty combination, but in person it just falls a little bit flat for me. Overall, the Deep Sea collection isn't super necessary if you already have a lot of these base colors on your palette. If I were to recommend two, it would be the blue and the green. Next up is the Shire collection, which is comprised of yellows, greens, and a neutral. First is Shire Yellow, made from PY159 and PV62. For me, this color is a hard pass. I can imagine it fitting into a really specific select color palette, but I already have plenty of earth yellows on my palette that I can whip up this kind of muddy yellow look if I need it. Next is Shire Olive, made from PY 159 and PB 35. As one might expect from these two light pigments, Shire Olive is also very pale and requires quite a bit of coaxing to wake up. If you already have Volcano Yellow on your palette, chances are you already have an ultramarine or cobalt or cerulean that you can just mix in, so I would say save your money on this one. Shire Green is made with the same yellow and PG 18, resulting in a more vibrant, bright, granulating green. It is also difficult to re-wet, and unless you're painting a lot of spring green foliage, or like really bright greens in general, this might not be the best use of your money. Shire Blue is definitely my favorite in this line, made from ultramarine, cobalt green, and volcano yellow. That yellow still makes it a bit hard to re-wet, but otherwise this is a very lovely convenience color. Last up is another neutral with Shire Gray. This is probably my favorite of the neutrals across the entire dot card. It is made up of 3 colors, but it is a relatively consistent gray that I feel like would be easier to use in paintings than some of the other ones. I know that I am extremely biased, but I would still prefer something like Denise's gray, though this is more transparent if you want something with a lower tinting strength. My top 2 choices in this collection are the blue and the gray, though I don't feel overly attached to either. On to page 2 with the Desert collection. Desert Yellow is extremely similar to Shire Yellow, with the Desert Yellow being a bit less muddy looking. It is still made with PY 159, which means it's harder to re-wet than what I would find ideal, and it's not a hue that I find I need with my plethora of earth yellows, but it does fit this desert theme very well. Desert Orange is a nice earth orange made from volcano yellow and mahogany brown. While it is a lovely color, there is another orange in the super granulation line that I like a little bit better, which we'll see in the next collection. Desert Brown is an interesting one. This one is made from volcano yellow, volcano red, and Mars black. In other words, it is very highly granulating. When it dries, it looks like the volcano orange with an underlying layer of a gray tone behind it. It is so unique that I actually bought a tube before seeing it swatched out in person, but honestly, I haven't used it very much since then. It reminds me so much of a color palette that like Jenny Granberry would be very comfortable with for like deserts and buildings, and I absolutely love it. I just haven't figured out how to make it work in my own paintings yet. The only color in this collection that doesn't contain PY 159 is Desert Green. It is made from volcano or cadmium red alongside cobalt green. I have a tube of this and I loved painting a desert lizard with it. It is really striking when it dries and separates, but you do have to be careful when you're glazing as it does re-wet easily on the paper. The last color in the Desert collection really surprised me. It's made from PY 159 and PBK 11, and I find it more of a desaturated green than a gray. There are several similar colors coming up, so I would wait to compare them all before making a decision about which one you would like to add to your palette, if any. Overall, I feel like the Desert collection is the most cohesive and usable set that we've seen so far, meaning that I could probably paint an entire desert landscape with these 5 colors and be perfectly happy. The brown and the green are the most unique colors in the collection. Next up is the Tundra collection, starting with the orange that is similar to Desert Orange. Tundra Orange is made from Schmincke's Raw Sienna, PBR7 and PY42, as well as Potter's Pink. It is not as dark as the Desert Orange, but I prefer the lighter yellow undertones when it's diluted to add versatility to a palette. Tundra Pink is a really pretty granulating purple that is made from ultramarine and Potter's Pink. It is not necessary if you have those other 2 colors on your palette, but it is still a very nice convenience color. Tundra Violet is, for starters, not violet. It is another color that I am not personally drawn to, but it is a unique convenience color if it's what you're looking for. Made with highly granulating PB29 and a PBR6, both are easily identifiable in the final wash, plus this color re-wets really easily compared to some of the other colors in this line. Tundra Blue is another one that I really wouldn't want to pay a higher price tag for. It is made from PB29 and PBR7, which most people will already have on their palettes. While these two colors are also used in other convenience mixes like Jane's Gray, this one is distinctly blue. It is just darker and less saturated than it would be without the earth pigment. The last color is Tundra Green, which I'm sure some of you can already guess I love. It is chromium oxide green and Mars brown, making for a juicy opaque color. Unfortunately for Schmincke, I already have my beloved Florentine green from Stone Ground Paint, which shares a similar niche on my palette. However, if Stone Ground isn't easily available or accessible for you, then this one is worth picking up. Unsurprisingly, my two favorites from this collection are the orange and the green. Two more to go. Next up is the Glacier collection. The first two colors are blues that are gorgeous, but absolutely not necessary if you already have similar blues on your palette. Glacier Blue is PB29 and PG50, resulting in a cobalt blue-like hue. Glacier Turquoise is PG50 and PV16, the latter of which brings depth, softness, and more granulation to a standard cobalt teal or turquoise. If you are looking for a very finely nuanced version of these colors, then by all means go for it, but they are not go out of the way or sell a kidney must-have colors. Now, Glacier Green is probably the one that you've already seen before. It was hugely popular when the series first launched. It is made from PG50 and PR233. The contrasting teal and pink make for a striking paint color, but this color really suffers when it comes to glazing. Even my softest brushes disrupt the dried layers of paint, making it look patchy and uneven if you try and glaze it ever. Glacier Brown is one that I haven't tried yet outside of this dot card, and it's hard to say without using it in a full painting, but my initial thoughts are that it reminds me so much of the mixture of A. Gallows Vermilion and Olive Green Deep that I used for the background of the cassowary painting in that review. This makes sense because Glacier Brown is mixed from Mars Brown and Cobalt Green, which are somewhat similar hues as to the ones that I mentioned, but they're just less saturated. Last in the set is Glacier Black, which again is unfortunately a bit underwhelming. I am all for convenience blacks, but the versions in Galaxy, Deep Sea, Shire, and Glacier collections don't really feel different enough or special enough from each other to make them take up an entire space in these small 5-color collections. Overall, this is another cohesive collection with its intended theme, and it includes a mixture of both redundant and truly unique colors. My top two are Glacier Green and Glacier Brown. To finish off the sheet, we have the Forest collection, and if you ask me, we saved the best for last. Yeah, okay, the colors in the set are all pretty close in hue, and you definitely don't need all 5, but you could hand me any of them and I would be a happy camper among the trees. First up is Forest Olive, and as its name suggests, it is an olive hue mixed from PG18, PBR7, and PY43. It is a little bit tricky to get going, but it has a nice payoff once it soaks in a bit. Forest Green is probably the least unique color in this set, but that's not to say that it isn't pretty. It is made from PG19 and PBR33. It is very similar to other chromium oxide greens though, so if you already have one, you can just mix in a little bit of a granulating brown and you'll be all set. Forest Blue may look quiet and unassuming, but it is probably my most used color in the entire super granulating range. It is a mixture of PB36 and PBK11, which would be easy to mix up on its own. However, I use it and mix it enough with other colors that I feel confident in recommending it as a useful convenience color. Next, we have the poorly named Forest Brown, which is really just another green, but forest green already exists. So this color combines PG26, PBR7, and PY43 to create a granulating earthy green. I do have a tube, and from my own experience, it sits somewhere in between my beloved Florentine green from Stoneground that I mentioned before and Undersea green from Daniel Smith. Since I'm already comfortable with those other two colors, I don't find that I reach for this one as often, but it is a lovely color. Finally, we have Forest Gray, and this is the type of mud I am down for. It is dank and nasty in all the best ways, and I absolutely love it. Within this series, it looks most similar to the Tundra Green, though Tundra Green is warmer and more opaque. I haven't tried Forest Gray in a painting yet, but I will be putting it on my wish list. I would feel confident recommending any of the colors from the Forest collection, although Forest Olive is my least favorite of the 5 and Forest Blue is at the very top of my list of all the useful colors in the entire Super Granulation line. From my experience over the past 2 years with the colors that I have in my own collection, my favorites are Galaxy Pink, Galaxy Brown, Desert Green, Tundra Orange, and Forest Blue. From the new to me colors on my stock card, I am most excited to try Volcano Brown, Deep Sea Blue, Glacier Brown, and Forest Gray. I was really hoping to get to try the Urban and Haze sets on the stock card because I still have yet to try them, but alas, they are not. Definitely let me know in the comments if you have any favorites from those two sets in particular that I should try out, and let me know in general what your favorites of the entire Super Granulation line are and how you'd like to use them. As a reminder, the high resolution scan of the swatch page is available on Patreon along with all the pigment numbers and my commentary on each. I also did some glazing tests after recording this main footage, so I will include that as well. I sure hope that you all had a wonderful World Watercolor Month and that you enjoy the Summer Creative Retreat next week. Again, check the description for more details, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, my friends, happy painting.